In exactly 8 weeks, all eyes will be on New Hampshire for the primary, but the week before votes are cast, candidates will have a chance to make their closing arguments during the debate that will take place at the New Hampshire Institute for Politics. Neil Levesque is the executive director of the Institute, and he joins me now for a behind-the-scenes look at the New Hampshire primary. Neil, welcome. Great to have you with us. So you recently told the Gloucester Times that, quote, New Hampshire is a chance for second-tier candidates to break into the top. What is it exactly about New Hampshire that helps candidates break through? And who in this field do you think might be able to do that in New Hampshire?
Well, this is a state, it's a small state with 1.3 million people. It's a very, very political state. People are very energized, focused on campaigning. So you can have a candidate come into New Hampshire with very little money, and with really not a lot of time, as you mentioned, 8 weeks to go here, and actually start to get some momentum. There are the big four candidates right now, obviously, and then you have some others that are definitely competing and working hard to try to get votes. Deval Patrick was in New Hampshire yesterday, the former Massachusetts governor, certainly a candidate getting in late. Not a lot of support yet, not going to be on the debate stage, but certainly this is a state where he could play well. So how is retail politics there a little different than in Iowa or some of the other early voting states? Well, in New Hampshire, you really have to sort of meet every candidate, meet every voter, if you will, and that's what people are sort of proud of. It's a state that has a media market that's sort of based on Boston, but we really have one television station. We have a lot of candidates going door to door, reaching out to different constituencies, and you really have to earn your time here. And some people choose to not do that. They choose to have a national campaign. Michael Bloomberg now, Kamala Harris tried that as well. But in New Hampshire, you really got to go and meet each voter, if you will, or at least try to, all 1.3 million people.
Right. So do you think then if a candidate can't do well in New Hampshire, that signals that their campaign is most likely over?
Well, I think New Hampshire is sort of like a leading economic indicator. You don't have to necessarily win here, but if you do well in Iowa and then you come to New Hampshire and you do really well, you're going to get a earned media and a lot of focus from those two contests, and then eventually, obviously, into Nevada and Super Tuesday. So it's just something where you're going to get propelled further by doing well here. And so candidates like now, Mayor Pete Buttigieg, the Real Clear Politics average had him in the lead. Our own polling here had him in the lead. Here's a candidate who's 37 years old. He's the mayor of a small city, and yet he's doing very, very well in an early state like New Hampshire. And that's because people are hyper-focused on politics. They're hyper-focused on 2020. And so if a Buttigieg comes out of Iowa doing well and then coming out of New Hampshire and doing very well, he could be well on his way to that convention.
So according to an Emerson College poll, though, from late November, Senator Sanders is in the lead there in New Hampshire. We just talked about how he's in the lead in California right now, according to a recent poll. How much does the familiarity factor help Senator Sanders since he's from a neighboring state?
Well, I think that's a misnomer that because someone's from a neighboring state, they're necessarily going to do well here. I think Bernie Sanders is pretty well known nationally. I don't think people in New Hampshire necessarily vote for him because he lives 50 miles away. I think he's well known here because he's been campaigning really, really hard, and he's done so through 2 cycles now. So he's met a lot of people. He's campaigned a lot here. And if you take that sort of top tier of candidates like Elizabeth Warren, Pete Buttigieg, Bernie Sanders, these are people that have really been working hard here, and it's been paying off. And so, if you're from Indiana, like Buttigieg, and you're doing really well, it's not necessarily because you're living next door. It's because you're working hard.
Well spoken. All right. Well, Neil, thank you so much for your New Hampshire insight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.